Hello, everybody, and welcome to Triple Threat. Ashley Nicole Moss here. And look, guys, I know every week I keep promising you that we're going to have a nice setup, and every week we do not. But that is because we are working as my IFB is tangled in my hair. It's been a lot going on, as you can tell, in free agency, and we're only, 24 hours in. We're going to dissect and break everything down, how we feel, how we don't feel, what moves us, what doesn't move us. And there's been a lot of breaking news since then. So bear with us because it's coming in as we're doing it. We're not going to be able to hit everything, but don't worry because CBS Sports HQ is going to have you covered with each and everything imaginable, and CBS Sports Network, like right here. But first and foremost, I have to brag a little bit because New York is up, baby. We were already up, just wanted to make that very clear. Obviously, the Knicks are alive and well, and the league is a lot better when the Knicks are relevant, when the Knicks are cooking. But Jordan Clarkson plans on signing with the New York Knicks, which is exactly what the Knicks need. That is the type of bench power, the type of scoring power, the type of depth that the Knicks have been looking for, that the Knicks do already have on their roster, on the bench. I want to make that very clear. There are some gems on that roster if they have a coach that goes to them. Now, again, the coach is another part of this equation. The coach is what the Knicks are still searching for. Obviously, Mike Brown is a name that has been in the mix. He, I believe, is on his second interview. So hopefully that means the Knicks are closer to signing a coach than they were a couple of weeks ago. Because, as I said, the Knicks need a coach to coach and manage all of this goodness. The East is wide open, baby. Obviously, devastating injuries to the Pacers, to the Boston Celtics with both of their stars. But the game is the game. And now is the Knicks' chance to shine. I wholeheartedly believe that the Knicks have never had a better option, a better position to be in to come out of the Eastern Conference and make it to the NBA Finals than they will next season. You just need the right pieces and you just need the right coach. Look, there is so much to get into. I don't want to spend too much time on just my opening monologue because you know I can talk about the Knicks all day, every day, baby. But we have to get into the chaos that is NBA free agency. When we get back, we are going to break down what is going on with the Houston Rockets and how the hell they got so much money. LeBron James is still king of the NBA, in case you needed a reminder. And it seems that everything is bigger in Texas because Dallas is also a team that is making some moves on the sly. We're going to break it all down. Myself, Chris Walker, you don't want to miss it. Brad Botkin's also joining, and we will be discussing everything right after this. Welcome back, everybody, to Triple Threat. Ashley Nicole Moss here, and I am joined by Brad Botkin. Chris Walker is dealing with some technical difficulties. As I said, as you can see, we're not in studio. We are trying to find a home. We feel like the kids are just getting thrown around in between the divorced parents, just trying to figure out where we're going to end up. But I promise it will be worth the wait. But we have a lot to discuss in the interim, and we're going to start in the state of Texas, but not Dallas just yet. We're going to start with Houston because how the hell did Houston get so rich? They say everything is bigger in Texas, and apparently so are the bank accounts because Houston is absolutely crushing free agency. As we know, the biggest acquisition for them was the trade of Kevin Durant. Here are the details of that trade. They traded Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, the number 10 pick in this past draft, to the Houston Rockets. And this is exactly what to the Phoenix Suns is what the Suns received. They also received 5 second-round picks. And the Rockets, yeah, they just received Kevin Durant. That was the biggest shock of it all, was how low risk this trade was for the Houston Rockets. Now, I also wanted to give you some of the notable moves from the Rockets this offseason. As I mentioned, the Kevin Durant trade. They re-signed Fred VanVleet to a 2-year, $50 million contract. They extended Jabari Smith Jr., as you can see, 5 years, $122 million. They signed Dorian Finney-Smith to 4 years, $53 million. Oh, and by the way, they also signed Clint Capella to a 3-year, $21.5 million deal, not because they necessarily needed him, just because they could. And Brad, I actually tweeted this in response to that particular trade, the Clint Capella move, if you will. I tweeted, how much money do the Rockets have? Got damn. Like, what is going on here? First of all, break it down for us as to why they have so much cash.
Well, I mean, these are not gigantic deals. They get DFS Dorian Finney-Smith basically on a mid-level. And they get Clint Capella for, 21 million. We're talking NBA dollars. So they didn't go out and have to break the bank really for any of these guys. They're building this thing perfectly. And so we all talk about these trades when big names move. And the day of depleting your roster to get these guys is out. And the Suns showed that. Kevin Durant just learned that from his time in Phoenix. And so the fact that the Rockets were able to get Kevin Durant and maintain that defensive support that he's going to need around him, maintain all of the stuff that took them to the number 2 seed in the Western Conference last year. I mean, if you think about the lineup versatility that Houston has now with those 3 centers, here the Lakers are without a starting center. The Celtics are pretty close to not having a starting center if Horford leaves. The Rockets have 3 of them. They can play with the gargantuan mountain Steven Adams and go play the offensive rebounding game. They can play, obviously they have Şengün, who's the star scorer, and you can run offense through. And now they have Clint Capella as the rolling, athletic rim protector and lob catcher. They can play 1 big lineups, 2 big lineups, no big lineups. In a day and age where versatility is everything in the NBA, they have outfitted this roster to be in perfect support of Kevin Durant. And man, they're ready to launch. I hear what you're saying, that it seems like they're just getting all kinds of players. Where's all this money coming from? But look at the deals. Capella's deal $7 million a year. DFS is mid-level money. And so the Rockets are spending wisely, and they can do so because they have so much stability and so much upside in place that they really only have to act on the margins now. Once they made that Durant move, everything became about the margins, and they are nailing this.
Yeah, if we can get that graphic again of all their moves in the offseason, just to show everybody exactly a reminder of what they've been able to do so far and what that looks like in terms of comparison to the other teams in the Western Conference, specifically when we talk about the reigning champs of the Oklahoma City Thunder. So if we can get that graphic on the screen one more time, like I said, of the offseason moves and the acquisitions they have made so far. Here we go. I mean, Brad, to your point, what stands out the most to you in regards of outside of Kevin Durant? What is the biggest difference maker, do you feel like, for this Houston Rockets team?
Oh man, Finney-Smith, because you weaken an opponent in one stroke, you weaken an opponent and you add exactly. Finney-Smith is one of those players that fits, sort of like a poor man's Paul George. Like, he just sort of fits on any team because of that 3-and-D capability, and he fits right into the two-way play that the Rockets provide. And you have to look at, Jabari Smith gets $122 million, but you got to look. What really matters here is the annual values. Every year we're reassessing where you stand against the aprons, against the tax. So $22 million, about $22 million for Jabari Smith. That's a good deal. They lower the annual value on Fred VanVleet. He had a $44 million player option, I think, this year. Now they get him for $25 million, on an annual value. So they're spending their money wisely. They're stretching contracts out 5 years for Jabari Smith to make the annual hit less. So those moves, that's why you're looking at like a guy like LeBron James and the Lakers, where doesn't seem like a long-term relationship anymore, where Fred VanVleet's saying, yeah, I'll take more years, less money, because I want to be here for a while and I want to help the team build now. And so by lowering the annual value, they're able to get Dorian Finney-Smith. But they're paying Fred VanVleet 25 instead of 44. If LeBron lowers his annual value and takes a 2 or 3 year deal, and now he's making 25 a year instead of the 52 that he opted in for, the Lakers probably keep Dorian Finney-Smith. So that's the difference between a team that's in it for the next 2 to 3 years together and a team like the Lakers that's basically announcing this is our last year with LeBron and we're not hooking up beyond this.
Yeah, I mean, let's address the elephant in the room here because the elephant in the room is Kevin Durant and his hunt for a championship. It is why we have seen him kind of bounce from team to team since he was part of your Golden State Warriors. We saw it in Brooklyn with Kyrie and James Harden. That situation didn't work out. He goes to Phoenix, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal ultimately joins them. The situation doesn't work out. Now he's in Houston with a not a relatively, but a very young team who, let's just make this very clear for all intents purposes, yes, Jalen Green was a little bit of a wild card in the situation because he didn't really perform well in the postseason, and he hasn't really seen the development in his game that you would like to see from someone you put so much stock in as kind of the centerpiece of your organization. But they have a lot of young talent. This was a Houston Rockets team, even without Kevin Durant, was second in the Western Conference, had a lot of upside to what this team was going to ultimately accomplish, especially with the changing of the guard happening in the West. But the biggest question here is Kevin Durant, he wants to win. It's why we've seen him move around so much. He still believes he can win a championship. Is this the team that will finally deliver on that desire for him?
Well, it's the best situation that he could have ended up in. And so, can we guarantee they're going to win? The West is way too deep. But they've put themselves, all you can do in what I think anybody would say is the most equitable and deepest competitive landscape that we've seen in the NBA probably ever. All you can do is put yourself as close to the top tier as you can. And then you start hoping that you stay healthy. Then you start hoping for the right matchups. Then you start hoping that the shooting variances go your way in a particular playoff series. They've put themselves in the upper tier. I think there's, at this point, we're all watching what the Warriors do with Jonathan Kuminga. We think they would have been in play last year if Curry hadn't gotten hurt. So maybe you can put them on the fringes. I think Minnesota is a team that's right below that top tier. But the top tier in the Western Conference right now is Houston and Oklahoma City. That's the position they've put themselves in. And the East is the East. So those are the two best teams in the league right now for my money. And that's all you can do. They put themselves in the position. And so if Kevin Durant is looking for opportunity to win a title, he has one. Whether they'll do it in this day and age, the predictable days of the NBA are over. So who knows what'll happen. But he's put himself in, I think, given the situation he was in Phoenix, and sort of the limited trade value that he had in terms of there was only a few teams that could give up enough assets to entice the Suns into a deal without depleting their team. So Houston was one of those teams all along, and he got there. He's got himself, I think, the best chance since Golden State. And it's pretty exciting to see what he can do with it.
It's definitely exciting, and I guarantee that if it does not happen, this team does not develop in the way that a lot of people on paper believe that it should, and it will. We will not hear the end of it. We'll see some Kevin Durant tweets about it, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of discourse about it. And speaking of discourse, we're going to continue our free agency discourse on this show, but Chris Walker is going to be joining us, and we're going to stick to the state of Texas, but we're going to head to Dallas this time because this may be a sneaky team in the Western Conference that's kind of flying under the radar due to injury. We'll talk about it after this. Welcome back, everybody, to Triple Threat. And the Big Three is reunited. We finally have Chris Walker joining the show. And Chris, while you were gone, we talked about everything going on in Houston, absolutely crushing free agency, but they're not the only team in Texas that are doing big things. I know we've been talking about the Dallas Mavericks, excuse me, I feel like forever. It obviously started with the blockbuster trade of Luka for Anthony Davis. AD brings his talents to Dallas. Luka takes his to Los Angeles. And then the Mavericks quickly kind of became the laughing stock of the NBA because of that trade. And then there was a series of injuries that followed, and everyone was like, well, maybe the Mavericks are cursed. And then, by the grace of the basketball gods, I put that in quotations, they win the NBA lottery with a 1.8% chance, get the number one draft pick in Cooper Flag. And now the future is starting to look a little bit brighter. Now, this tweet went viral, I believe, from a depressed Lakers fan. And he said the Mavs are low key stacked. Now, looking at this picture here, obviously we know the injury of Kyrie Irving. He's going to miss some time. The very real injury history of Anthony Davis, a version of Klay Thompson that's a far cry from the Splash Brother we all fell in love with on the Golden State Warriors. And we have a rookie who's going to take some time to get acclimated to the game. But even with all of that, this is the potential lineup. Now, taking Kyrie out of the picture again, he's going to miss some time. And they're going to fill that spot with D'Angelo Russell, who they recently acquired. Maybe the Mavericks season isn't a complete wash like a lot of people thought. Is this a team that's kind of flying under the radar because of all the other extracurriculars that I mentioned, Chris? I'll start with you.
Listen, I definitely am upset that I missed the last take because I'm a Houston guy, but I'll talk about Houston last. But in regards to Dallas, here's the thing, and Brad, I'd love to hear your. I mean, I'm sure you're going to disagree with me. I am trying to figure out why people. I get Cooper Flag coming in, which is great. They got the number one pick. Anthony Davis being traded there, and then also you have the parts that were already there with Klay Thompson, et cetera, and the other guys. But did the Mavericks go to the championship with a healthy Kyrie Irving and a healthy Luka Doncic? If I'm not mistaken, I thought they went with those two guys, which two that not playing, and everyone's saying, "Oh my God, the Mavericks." I'm like, what? Explain that to me. Because you drafted Cooper Flag, you got Anthony Davis, who's often injured, an older Klay Thompson. I'm just trying to figure out why everyone's talking
Although
so
Anthony
much.
Davis, Chris, let's make it clear, he has had healthier seasons these past few seasons than he has before.
I agree. But you know, if he gets a cold, he's going to miss 7 games. So what I'm saying is, I don't understand. I get what people are saying, the fanfare, but it's fair to say that Kyrie Irving may not be the same player when he comes back. Yes or no? Okay. Cooper Flag, not a generational talent, but could be the rookie of the year. And again, as I said before, bringing in D'Angelo Russell, who doesn't play, who doesn't understand, is he's called defense because there's no D in defense for him. So I'm trying to figure out why people are so hype about the Mavericks. I get it, keeping Coach Kidd, but I will say this: on paper, it looks good. As far as the Spurs are concerned, I mean, I love this team. I mean, I really love the Spurs bringing in Dylan Harper, Carter Bryant, obviously Wemby. Let's see how he heals. And De'Aaron Fox, who I love, he's from my city, from H-Town. I think they're going to be spectacular with Vassell. I mean, this team is a team that people really should be looking at in the West, having an opportunity to really make some moves. And lastly, the Rockets, Eli Wittes, who's a capologist for the Rockets, Patrick Fertitta, I mean, Rafael Stone, who's the GM. Low key, you got to give them the right now. They're the program, or the team, shall I say, or the organization that's made some dramatic moves with and Ime Udoka, the team that he wants to construct. I'll say this lastly: I am just shocked that they didn't have to give up Tari Eason or Jabari Smith, because had they did that and not given up Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks, I thought it was a bad trade for KD. Right now, Brad, they're coming out smelling like roses for me, and bringing in Clint Capella, now Finney Smith. This team is clearly, to me, the most experienced team and has the best chance to upending the OKC.
Okay, but Brad, before you answer that, so Chris, you are saying that the Dallas Mavericks are a team that you should not be taking seriously this upcoming season. Is that what you're saying? They're not a playoff team.
No. I didn't say that. I mean, because 8 teams can make the playoffs. I'm saying if you're prioritizing
No, no,
teammate to
no.
player.
I'm saying, are the Mavericks a team that, because of all the things you mentioned, we all know the history of Anthony Davis. We all understand the acclimation period from the collegiate game to the professional game. Kyrie Irving missing some time. Are we, as a general public, NBA fans, maybe underestimating just how good this Mavericks team is and can be, despite all of the roadblocks that maybe they'll be facing at various points of the season?
I mean, juxtapose it with who they're going to have. Let's say if you want to say Kyrie comes back, they're really good. AD doesn't get hurt. Okay, yeah, and with Cooper Flag, yes, this team's going to be good. But let's say Kyrie doesn't come back this year the way people think, and Anthony Davis does get hurt. Who's left? D'Angelo Russell, an aging Klay Thompson? I mean, who are the guys that are going to carry the load against the other teams in the West? I mean, I don't see anybody. Daniel Gafford. I mean, I hate to say this because I don't want to diss guys on national TV, but I'm just saying let's keep it real about who's going to carry the load if those guys aren't the guys. Now you're saying Cooper Flag's going to carry the Mavericks. They lost a generational talent, a top 5 player, right, in the NBA, 5 times straight All NBA first team, and we're talking about bringing in who for him? So the Lakers' woes are the Lakers' woes. But this is what you gave up. And remember, as I said before, I prefaced this by saying they played in the NBA Finals with Luka and Kyrie, 2 guys they don't have, and everybody's gung-ho about the Mavericks. I don't get it.
Brad, what's your rebuttal to that?
Well, what I would say is this is they're a perfect graphic team for what we just put up. Because when you put up Kyrie Irving and Cooper Flag and Anthony Davis and Klay Thompson and PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively, like, they're good. They're really good on a graphic. But to Chris's point, it's sort of a blue sky outlook that if they completely took away their margin for error. And we saw it immediately when Anthony Davis got traded there. One injury and they're done. And so Anthony Davis has had, he's been a couple of relatively healthy seasons, but over the last 7 years has had 7 stints of 10 games or more out. So he's been a very injury-prone player, 10 games in a row, that is. So if it all goes perfectly, Dave, I think that if you want to defend Nico Harris's move, there's no defense for the return that he got for Luka, but if you want to defend his sort of overall outlook on what wins basketball games and what competes for championships, they're a more balanced team now. I think they're a better defensive team. Anthony Davis, when he's at his best and he's healthy, he's one of the best defensive players in the league. They have more lineup versatility. There's a lot of things that coaches, in terms of tools in their belt that they can go to, that they have now. They don't have somebody like Luka that they have to cover for defensively as much. But again, you're talking about best case scenario. Kyrie comes back after a year off and he's the same player. Anthony Davis doesn't get hurt. It's a lot like the Philadelphia 76ers, where on paper, they look like a damn good team. But can you really count on Joel Embiid being healthy? Can you really count on Paul George being as good as the contract and the name suggests he should be? And so I think that when you put the Sixers look like maybe the best team in the East on paper, but we know the reality of those players. And I think that's when you put the Mavericks on a graphic, they look incredible.
So in that landscape, then, reality versus, idealistic scenarios, Nico Harrison, obviously public enemy number 1 when he decided to trade away Luka to the Los Angeles Lakers and get Anthony Davis. We all know how much of a roller coaster of emotions that was for Luka, specifically in the game he returned to the American Airlines Center. We all remember the camera, the tears, and just the emotion I feel like everybody felt for Luka, whether you were a Mavs or a Lakers fan, just as basketball fans, knowing this is somebody who really never envisioned leaving this organization. We all know the Fire Nico chants, the protests outside of the arena, X, Y, and Z. Are the sins of Nico Harrison forgiven by Mavs fans based on just what the idealistic scenario on paper of this Dallas Mavericks team are? Brad, you're shaking your head no. Why?
No, because it's the process. He got lucky with Cooper Flag. That wasn't part of his plan.
Lucky?
He got, whatever you want to call it. He had a line into Adam Silver, whatever you want to call it. That's not that's not a vision. That's just luck. So no, he traded a guy that he could have had got the biggest haul in NBA history for. Put aside if you don't think that they should have traded him at all. and just say,
Mhm.
look, this guy's a defensive GM. He wants to play defense. He doesn't want to cover for a guy. He doesn't want to play a heliocentric offense where they pound the ball for 24 seconds and nobody else gets involved. Like, okay, fine. Those are his basketball ideals. I want to trade Luka Doncic. You could have got the biggest haul in history for him. And he didn't even put it out on the market. He goes and gets an injury-prone, aging Anthony Davis. He can't even get Austin Reeves out of the Lakers. The process will never be forgivable. But by the stroke of basketball gods, if everything does come to fruition, which is a huge and unlikely if, I do think you can argue that the Mavericks are at least as good as they were with Luka, if not from a more versatile standpoint, better. But not because of what Nico did.
Can I just say this? Ashley, you made a great point about how maligned Nico was. And I'm here to say, and maybe you guys have more inside information, this just wasn't his decision, guys. You don't make a decision like this.
Of course
and it's
not.
strictly in his hands. So to levy that at his feet makes zero sense. And it's irresponsible.
But Chris, to your point, but real quick before you finish, remember the reports that came out that he approached the president of the Dallas Mavericks with this, and he was even taken aback by the suggestion. It is fair to assume that the start of the wheel turning began with Nico. Maybe he needed other people in check to actually go through with the plan, but the wheels in motion were started by Nico Harrison.
Let's get this straight. GMs get fired, coaches get fired all the time. All right. And I'm not trying to say that they're going to get rid of Nico Harrison, but at the end of the day, who knows how it really happened? Right? Everything's about spin. So I don't know how it happened, but to get rid of Luka Doncic, and now this is the situation that you're in. They were in the finals. What is the goal? To get to the finals. If you're telling me to get rid of 5 all-time guy's going to be one of the all-time best players ever in his prime, and you leave him because what? He's a little bit overweight, because he's a little bit hard to deal with. Okay, get a different coach. Find a different situation. As Brad said, give him away.
I'm glad you mentioned those two things. I'm glad you mentioned championship generational player, because when we come back, we're talking about your guy, LeBron James, because although there are a lot of things moving and grooving in the NBA, LeBron is still king, in case you forgot. We're going to explain why right after this. Okay, so Rich Paul, you may know him. He's LeBron's agent, and he had this to say about LeBron opting in to his $52.6 million player option on June 29th. He knows the Lakers are building for the future. He understands that, but he values a realistic chance of winning it all. We are very appreciative of the partnership that we have had for 8 years with Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka, and consider the Lakers as a critical part of his career. Now, that was a very interesting choice of words. It sounds like a parting message, but we're going to dive into that in 1 second. This is what this current starting lineup for the Los Angeles Lakers looks like, okay, as currently existing. It's a far cry from the Los Angeles Lakers that won the championship in 2020, but you do have Luka and you do have LeBron. And once again, it's going to be them holding down the fort. Now, we should point out that DeAndre Ayton is cleared from waivers on Wednesday, tomorrow. So that starting center position could look drastically different come 24-ish hours from now. But the biggest question is LeBron going or is he staying? And I actually posed this question on my social media because of how divided the NBA world actually is on this very topic. I said, why do y'all think LeBron won't be in a Lakers jersey on October 21st, 2025, which is the start of the NBA season? And here were some of the responses. We have one where it says he will be, but he won't be on February 2026 or February 6, 2026, which is the start of the NBA trade deadline. I love LeBron, but he needs to go. Again, another year of getting nothing. We will get some journeymen who are subpar and we will suck once again. Tired of watching the Lakers and their terrible management. We have one more here for you. Because the Lakers are tired of him. He takes indirect shots at the front office, blames players, and constantly asks for more help when he already has enough to win, but it's never enough because he's never been good enough. His act has gotten stale. Wow. That guy had to get some things off his chest. Must be a disgruntled Lakers fan. Chris, I'm going to go to you because you are the resident LeBron stan on this show. And I want you to kind of break down one, that last tweet specifically, because I see you shaking your head in disgust at it. But more importantly, LeBron's mindset as he opts in and that statement from Rich Paul, just the picture as a whole painted for us.
Listen, the most maligned great player, in my opinion, to ever play in the NBA. And as you mentioned, you're putting social media tweets up. We live during an era where everyone has an opinion. And it's like politics, oh, why can't they pass this law? Why can't they pass that law? Well, they got to go through the House and the Senate. And guess what? The Democrats president, and we have Republicans who are in the House. It's never that easy to construct it the way people think. They have to understand the inner workings of the NBA and how hard it is when you are cap struck or when you're trying to make moves. Or again, you got a guy like LeBron, you got LA where you got a lot of good players to come play in LA, but it's very difficult to win when they can't build it through the draft, right? Like OKC has done. Yes, you have LeBron, you got Luka, but you need other pieces because you just can't win with an aging superstar, no matter what LeBron's numbers are. So the question is, now that the team's been bought, I think Rob Pelinka is going to be gone at some point. Magic's going to be back in place. And to go back to our last segment, here's what I believe is going to happen. And I can't wait for Brad to chop me up on this. But here's what I think is going to happen. We already saw today Dame Lillard getting waived, right? No one saw that coming, so the Bucks can get Miles Turner. LeBron James is going to force his way out of LA. He took the player exception, gets his money. He's probably going to give him back 10 or 15 million dollars. And I'm going to tell you where he's going, and you guys are going to laugh at me because that's what I was kind of holding in my back pocket. I believe LeBron James is going to the Dallas Mavericks on the minimum. That's what I believe, on the minimum. Because at the end of the day, they're building for the future. LeBron has pride. He gets it. But unless they can get a DeAndre Ayton, that team is going nowhere in the West. He knows that. Why waste your last possible year? If LeBron is with the Mavericks, is anybody saying the Mavericks don't have a chance to up in the Rockets or the Thunder with that roster and Kyrie coming back? Nico Harrison, a Nike guy. Jason Kidd, a Nike guy. Frank Vogel's going back to the staff. Jason Kidd was Frank Vogel's assistant with the Lakers. Keep your eye on what's going on. They're forcing their way out of LA.
Brad,
well, are you saying he's going to force his way to LA or to Dallas this year or next year?
Yes, I think it's going to be a buyout this year. I believe that. I think he's going to force his way out. Yes. Wow. I think they're going to buy him out. He's going to probably give back. He doesn't think about it. Brad, LeBron doesn't need the money. Does LeBron need the money?
No, I know, but why? I'm just wondering why the Lakers would buy him out.
He's got 1 year left. He's not going to play this year. I think this is Braun's.
But to Brad's point, why would the Lakers buy him out?
Yeah, they want to try to win this year.
They need caps. What do you mean? I'm just telling you right now, right? What do you mean? Why would they buy him out? They're going to be relieved of salary, not Brad, right? Brad, if he comes off the books, right, and they buy him out, I don't know how much he'll give back. That's the question. But I don't believe that LeBron James will be playing for the Lakers this coming season. I don't believe that.
But that would be wild. That would be wild.
But it would be. I can understand. I could totally.
So he would come off the books. He would come off the books right now if they bought him out.
Oh, I'm saying, come on. Let's talk about the tweet. What is Rich Paul saying? What do you think they're saying? We're going to play this whole year.
It definitely sounds like the tenure between the Lakers and LeBron is coming to an end. But the question is how? I would see it. It would make more sense for the Lakers if they did want to get more return on their investment to trade LeBron, not to buy him out this particular season.
Or waive him. No one's going to buy that contract or a 40-year-old aging guy with $50 million.
It's LeBron James.
It doesn't matter. No one's giving up those assets. I love LeBron to death more than anybody, but no one's giving up those assets. Okay, let's say the Knicks want him. They got to give up the whole team. What team that wants to be a contender is going to give up all that for LeBron?
Yeah. Matching the salary is a big problem.
For sure.
But
I'm not saying I'm right.
it's not outside of the realm of possibility, especially if you talk about a team that has a lot of capital. If you talk about a team that, for example, look what Kevin Durant didn't go for. We were all having the same conversation about the Houston Rockets and how the Rockets were going to have to uproot their entire team and it was going to be bad for business because Kevin Durant only has so much time left in his career. Why would you possibly do that? And they got Kevin Durant essentially for pennies on the dollar. So if the Lakers were going to make a type of move with LeBron this particular season at LeBron's request, a trade seems way more feasible than to buy a man out.
Well, trading Austin Reeves is something that's viable, but again, they could listen. I'm not saying they can't do what Milwaukee did and let LeBron go wherever he wants. So what I'm saying is, in my opinion, reading the tea leaves, looking at what's going on, I can see LeBron. I did say Golden State, right? But I can see LeBron in Dallas this season. I know that
if he wanted to do that, then he should have just, if we're saying LeBron doesn't care about the money, he's already got enough money, he should have just not signed the player option. Just go become a free agent and take the minimum somewhere. Because if he wanted to, he could have just done that. But he wants his money, clearly.
Yeah, but Brad, can he get waived? Look at Damian Lillard. Can he be waived?
He can, but from the Lakers, he can, but from the Lakers,
more than the minimum.
Yes, but the Lakers have to want to. He gave the power to the Lakers once he opted in. So why would I'm just trying to wrap my head around why the Lakers would basically concede? Right? They would concede this season. They would concede this season.
Essentially,
yes.
For what? I mean, for what? Just
because they still do have Luka. We're talking about a team that does have Luka, who you and all of us believe is a generational talent. So to Brad's point, to concede would basically be throwing your hands up in the air and wasting a year of Luka's prime years to appease a player that may or may not be on your roster in 6-7 months.
First of all, Luka has to sign the extension, right? They have some time for that.
Which he will.
And everyone will be off the books. Right? I think Jared Vanderbilt may be the only player on the books at that point. They're going to have, and then Austin Rivers didn't I don't know what to keep Austin Rivers. Austin Reeves did not resign either. So what I'm saying is there's much, and I'm not saying I'm right about this, guys. I'm going out as a hot take. Just like no one could see how the Milwaukee Bucks would get Miles Turner. There is something afoot in LA with leadership, with Magic possibly coming back. They're reorganizing everything. Mark Walter takes over. I'm telling you, look, I don't believe that LeBron James will be playing in LA. I don't believe it. There's no way.
I don't disagree necessarily with that. I think I would lean toward him playing there this year. But if the Lakers get rid of him, it's got to be a trade. They got to get something for him. I can't see how they would just pay him whatever $30 million to buy him out for what? To stink this year with no assets in return. I think they would find a trade. That's what I would think.
We are going to officially now, because of Chris Walker, be on LeBron heavy watch. We already were, but we're going to be on LeBron serious watch come next season because LeBron James, as long as he is in the league, is the gift that keeps on giving. But when we come back, we're going to dig into our bag and we're going to find out who you guys believe is winning free agency so far. Don't move. Okay, which team is winning NBA free agency so far? That was this week's In Your Bag question. Let's dig into the responses and see what we got here. The Rockets winning the whole offseason. That seems to be a common thread. The Rockets, Hawks, and Clippers. Interesting adding the Clippers in there. I'm interested in the guys' takes on that one. Atlanta, that's also a name that has been circulating, a team name, I should say. And coming from a Knicks fan, that's a big thing to say. The Mavs, but just because they were gifted a first-round pick. Not biased, but I'm going to say Brooklyn, to be honest. Well, the guy's name is Jerry Seidnet, so he's a little bit biased. And last but not least, the Rockets. And the losing team are the Timberwolves. All right, guys. Which of those tweets stands out to you the most? Chris, I'll start with you. The fact that somebody mentioned the Clippers as winning free agency kind of took me by surprise.
Yeah, because they got Brooke Lopez. Come on, man.
Yeah,
No
like
way. They
sweet.
got
You
Harden back.
signed up for more James Harden?
Exactly.
No,
Like there's no
no,
chance. Listen, the West is just ridiculously hard to win. So they're just trying to
For
stay at
sure.
bay. The Rockets are the team, in my opinion. Again, Eli Wittis, who's their capologist, Raphael Stone, the GM, Ime Udoka, those guys and Patrick Fertitta have done a masterful job. And here's what I'll say about the Houston Rockets. And people don't realize, people always talk about LA being a destination. Let's talk about the people that have played in Houston, right? Generational, the big time players: Dwight Howard, Charles Barkley, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Kevin Durant. I mean, think about it. All of the best players in the league have gone to Houston. They have done a great job of luring people there. And to your point, Ashley, earlier about Kevin Durant, the reason why they get him for pennies on the dollar. I don't want to say pennies on the dollar. He's still going to get a good contract, and they got to re-sign Van Vliet because they're waiting. He wants to win. He's sitting back going like, hey, let's put myself in the best position, because now for Kevin Durant, it's about legacy. It's about legacy. And getting with Houston gives him the best chance to win another chip as an aging superstar.
Brad, who's winning free agency for you?
Rockets off season, because Kevin Durant's not technically free agency, but the Rockets are winning, and then the other team is the Hawks. The Hawks are like, it speaks to the state of the conferences, but the Hawks are like legit possibility to be what the Pacers were. They have outfitted Trae Young pretty quietly. If you're ever going to be able to support a Trae Young led team, it's got to be with stout perimeter defense. All of a sudden, they've got Dyson Daniels, Jalen Johnson, last year's #1 pick, Zachary Rissache, who quietly shot 40% from three after the All-Star break last year. And then they go and they get the stretch five with all that space that Trae, who's maybe the best space worker in the league, that he's going to have with Porzingis popping out to that three-point line. And they still have Onyeka Okongwu. They're going to be able to put out a defensive lineup in the closing stretches of games that's going to be very difficult to score on. And they have done it by staying under the tax. They still have access to almost $10 million from a traded player exception from the DeJounte Murray trade last year. So they've done this all economically. This is a big season for Trae Young, because if that archetype of a player, and what I mean by that is a brilliant offensive creator, truly an all-time offensive creator who has to be covered for defensively and is small. And we're talking about your Jalen Brunsons. We're talking about your Damian Lillards. These guys that are so good offensively, but big-time problems defensively. If that archetype of a player can ever be the best player on a championship team, they have to be outfitted with perfect support staff. And the Hawks are going a long way toward doing that. So this is a big year to prove that Trae Young can be the best player on a contending team. The Hawks have given him the right opportunity.
I just have to say, I'm absolutely thrilled that the Knicks are not in the drama. We're looking for a head coach, and yes, that's a little dramatic.
Till you trade
Not even
Mikal
gonna
Bridges.
pretend.
They're going to do so.
I
They're going to
mean,
trade Mikal Bridges.
We're good.
Wow.
Mikal Bridges is not going anywhere, but we're not the drama for once. And I love that for us, because for a long time, we have been the drama. And I enjoy free agency when I'm not the drama. So shout out to the New York Knicks for not being the drama. And shout out to these guys here, because they always bring the heat. They always bring the fire. Listen, they don't call us, it's not they, I call us that. And I hope it catches on. They don't call us, we don't call us, I don't call us the big three for no reason. There is so much more that we are going to have to break down and dissect. I feel like the moves are just beginning to fall. And if you're Chris Walker, LeBron's going to be on the move sooner rather than later. I'm sure, and I hope
He's a Cowboy fan, Ashley. He's a Cowboy fan.
I'm for it.
He's a Cowboy fan.
Can you imagine if he was back with Kyrie
Chris, we're
and
clipping
Anthony
that out,
Davis?
though. We are absolutely clipping that out. If you missed any moment of today's show, don't worry. Scan this QR code and catch full episodes of Triple Threat right here on the CBS Sports YouTube page.